Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is going to be my May 2019 Blu-ray and DVD update. Actually filming this on the 21st of May, so we're not nearly to the end. I don't think I've got much else coming in, so I thought I would just get it filmed now. There may be one or two that turn up in May. I'll just pop on next month's update. So let's get started. A couple of DVDs, kind of interesting DVDs to go through. The first one is this Evil Dead 2 Book of the Dead 2 one. Then you see the original Evil Dead kind of rubber book sets fairly often, but you don't see the Evil Dead 2 one quite as much. It's a pre-owned one I got off eBay. It's Anchor Bay. It's actually an American set, which I don't believe was released in the UK. So this is possibly why you don't see it quite as much, at least in the UK. This because it's open already. I will kind of show you the insides here so you can have a look for yourself. So obviously you have just the card there. Then you have the actual book itself, which is kind of like a soft rubber fill. These do tend to degrade, so you know, you've got to make sure you sort of store it in a kind of a nice dry place. Now obviously it's all kind of like properly kind of like noduled and 3D, and it's going to be like a flesh feel to it. And you have a nice kind of ear on the back of it. Meant to be obviously human skin there. And you open it up, and just like the original one, there's a variety of spooky drawings from the movie itself. All pretty good. This one here obviously being Ash from the medieval times, obviously a course which has ended up leading to Army of Darkness, and was one of the great bit of foreshadowings in cinema, I feel. And then you have the disc. So that is the Evil Dead 2 Book of the Dead edition. Not to be outdone, however, I do have a Marvel DVD set, one that I actually didn't know that existed until I kind of happened to see it. So this is the Blade Trilogy Australian DVD set. Now you have seen these kind of DVD sets from the company Easy DVD before, but they've always been singular DVDs. This one is a treble pack and therefore is pretty thick. Has the nice kind of Blade logo embossed on the side there. Now it is actually pre-owned, and it is a little bit kind of damaged. So there you go. So that's a little bit of a shame, but you know, I don't really. This is literally the first time I've ever seen it, so I'm you know, although obviously I'd like it better, it's one I will take it. And a bit like a steelbook, really, it just kind of opens up, and you have the Blade sort of set inside, which is just the kind of more or less your standard kind of DVD treble pack that you would get in, you know, outside of it. So that is the Blade Trilogy metal DVD tin. So we'll move on to some Blu-rays, just a couple of normal Amarais. I'm not the biggest slasher fan, so I don't tend to get a lot of slasher films, but there are some exceptions. And this is one of them. I actually put this as I think a honourable mention to one of my kind of lists I did for B movies some time ago about movies that may have gone under the radar. And it's actually about a female masked slasher who is this cool looking sort of character on the front here, and is almost ninja like, so she's pretty lethal. And although the story is nothing particularly kind of that you haven't seen before, I actually thought the presentation of this movie was fun, and the killer was almost, you know, quite unique in the fact that it made it an enjoyable film for me, because I find slashers quite samey. I know they tend to be a big thing in America, but I find outside, well, certainly in the UK, other sort of horror films tend to be a bit more popular. I know slashers still have their fans outside of the States, but for me, I'm not one of them. I don't mind some of them, but this is one I particularly enjoyed. A Blind Buy. This was off Amazon Germany, and I have no idea what it's like, what it's about, and it's just called Raw. Now, I believe this is actually a German language found footage movie in a kind of a dark red Blu-ray case here, which is quite nice. Didn't even know what the story's about, to be honest, but I just thought it wasn't very expensive, and I was already ordering Blood Widow, so I thought I would pick this up as well. So that is Raw. Media book wise, I just picked up the one this month, and this was Orgasmo, along with horror. I do like superheroes, and this one is a kind of superhero comedy parody about a porn related one, believe it or not. But yeah, and it's got, I think it's Trey Parker, who is responsible for South Park, this is one of his live action movies, and you've got kind of, you know, various appearances from different porn stars here. But it's quite a fun superhero spoof comedy about a guy with whose power is to make you orgasm. Moving on to some Steelbooks. Now, at first glance, this might actually be mistaken for a DVD Steelbook, but alas, it's actually a Blu-ray, although it is a Generation 1 case. So I will show you next to a Blu-ray so you can see here. And the reason for it, this is a Russian Steelbook, so they tend to use the G1 case, or the DVD sort of size, you know, sizes basically, but it is actually a Russian Steelbook, and is obviously for the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which isn't an amazing film, but it is Sean Connery's last appearance on, you know, on film, so it's worth getting just for that, really, a bit of cinema history. So yeah, I actually quite like the cover art of this one. I actually think that you can get another kind of like a Steelbook with different artwork, but I actually quite like this one, with that, despite the fact it's obviously got a Russian title and stuff. So there you go. I actually bought a bundle of Steelbooks on eBay, like a Steelbook lot, and this was one of them. Two Guns, a movie I have not seen and have no idea what it's about. But there you go. Yeah, so I told you, this is not the first time I've got that. Rather than buying Steelbooks individually, sometimes you can kind of buy a lot, because I don't think people tend to kind of like, because obviously they're displayed without really the titles, you can tend to get them up pretty cheap, and this is one of them. And I'll mention the other ones that I got in the same ones. That was Two Guns. This was another one that was in that Blu-ray lot, and this is a French Hobbit movie, and is actually has a lenticular magnet on there. Not sure how that will show up. But this one's actually sealed as well. I actually already have the Hobbit movies on the extended versions on Steelbook, so there you go. And it was part of that lot. I actually got this one off eBay as well, but this is not from that last, I just bought it separately. It's actually a Metalpak, and in case you are unaware, Metalpaks are slightly different. The spine is just kind of hinged, unlike a Steelbook, which has got a plate on it, which makes the difference. This was the difference. Some people don't like Metalpaks, to be honest with you. I don't really mind either way, to be honest with you. This one is I'm not sure if it's German, maybe Dutch or somewhere like that, a European release of Dylan Dog, Dead of Night, starring Brandon Routh. It's kind of a horror comedy as far as, and I think it's actually based on a comic book, although I'm not familiar with that, have yet to watch this film. We also have Daybreakers, again, once again it's a Metalpak, and this is a pretty good underrated vampire movie, kind of a vampire science fiction movie with Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe, and again I think it's from the same part of the world, possibly kind of a Dutch release. Next up we have The Matrix. Now I know there's been a bunch of releases on The Matrix, and to be honest with you, I wanted a copy of the movie on a Steelbook, but I just love the art on this one the best out of all of the releases. I don't really watch special features and stuff like that, so I don't really care about that sort of thing. and to be honest with you, they always end up on YouTube anyway. So I actually just like the art on this, and I also like the art on the 300 movie, which is I want to get that on this sort of series of steelbooks that they did. So hopefully I'll pick that one up at some point. That is the Matrix. I only want the first Matrix. Can't bother with the rest of them. Now this one was an interesting one. This is actually a Japanese release of Bullet in the Head, a Sylvester Stallone movie, and once again it is a metal pack. Now it does have this kind of a bit like a J card really, I suppose, but underneath that you do actually have the title of the movie, Bullet to the Head, and it's just the J card that has the obviously the Japanese kind of spelling on that. But interestingly, I think I've seen a similar European steelbook, but the actual title is actually in whatever language, like German or somewhere. So yeah, so I was kind of underrated and forgotten about Stallone movie. Next up we have the Dracula Untold steelbook. This one is sealed, and this one was once again one of those films that were in that steelbook lot that I bought. And to be fair, this is the one that attracted me to it, because I did actually want this steelbook anyway. And I mean, that steelbook lot cost me less than £10, so I probably would have paid near enough for this one anyway. So I was quite happy, obviously, that this was included in it, and I got the other ones as well. And this is a nice sealed version of Dracula Untold, which I actually don't mind. I actually thought this was a better movie than the Mummy film that starred Tom Cruise. This was originally going to be the first movie in the Universal's Dark Universe series of films, but they kind of scrapped it when it wasn't well received and tried again with the Mummy, which was probably even less well received. Next up we have Spaceballs, which is an American steelbook. I believe it was like a exclusive to Best Buy. Now, interestingly, when I purchased this, I got this off eBay, I actually thought it was going to be a metal pack, because that's what I thought this was released as, rather than a steelbook. But it is actually a steelbook rather than a metal pack. You see here it has the plate rather than the kind of the hinged side. So this is I was all this time I was thinking Spaceballs was a metal pack rather than a steelbook, and turns out no, it is actually a steelbook. So this is a Region A one, but it's the only one that's been released in the world in regards to steelbooks, as far as I know. And there you go. So that is Spaceballs, a fun superhero. Well, not superhero, Star Wars kind of parody. If you've not seen it. Next up we have the Conan remake film. Now, I bought the Conan the Barbarian original film on steelbook, I think last month. So I thought, do you know what? I'd buy the kind of the remake as well. This is a French release, and you know, it's not a bad film. I mean, it's not a classic, but it's quite a cool steelbook. There's a couple of different designs you can get of the steelbook. Like I said, this is the French one, and I actually quite like it. Again, this was a relatively cheap purchase for me, so I didn't mind getting this one. But yeah, it's French Conan the 3D version, starring, oh jeez, I've forgotten his name now. The guy who was Aquaman, Jason Momoa. And if you know my channel, you know I like to collect my Marvel stuff. So in the UK, we have a online videotape called Zavvi, and I think they've released the same steelbooks that were in Best Buy. These ones is the 4K, not that they have a 4K player or TV, this will just sit in the case, of Captain America the Winter Soldier, which to date is still my favourite MCU film. And yeah, there you go, another Marvel steelbook to add to the collection. However, we also have the Captain America Civil War, the third in the Captain America trilogy of films, which a lot of people think is more of an Avengers film. Now, this is the again a 4K release, and it looks like they're going to kind of do the Iron Man trilogy next. So I have pre-ordered the first one. So this is the Civil War 4K Zavvi Steelbook, which was again the same design that was used as the Best Buy one. And then finally for this month, the higher value item is the Avengers Infinity War Blue Fans Lenticular release. Now, I actually only wanted the standard Steelbook of this one rather than one of these ones in the cases. I used to collect every kind of Marvel release, but as they've had more films that have come out and more companies that do these stuff, I can't keep on top of it. So, and I don't have the money to buy every single one. So at least I'm trying to get like at least one version of every one. But I like the actual Steelbook design of this one. And a lot of the time, I think the Steelbook, let's see, it's numbered here. There you go. A lot of the time, I think these the slip cases. I'll be honest with you, they're a bit of a rip off because you're paying. You know, you're buying 3 copies of the same Steelbook. The only difference being it's got a card outer sleeve, and we're paying like 50 quid minimum basically for essentially the same thing. And I, in my old age, getting a little bit kind of like cynical. Just thinks it's just marketing basically, but I do want to get at least one version of it, and this one ironically I managed to pick up cheaper than just your standard Steelbook. Although I still like the artwork, and then I would like to have it on display, so I might still end up getting one. You can get the double lenticular and the non-lenticular slipcase as well, but I'm not going to bother worry about them. Although I might get just the Steelbook on its own. And there you go, that is my Blu-ray update for May of 2019. There may be one or two obviously that appear here that I'll get, that I'll just put in the next month's update. So yeah, that is it. Thanks for watching. And any particular favourites you had out of this lot, any kind of titles tickle your fancy, let us know in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next month.